Hello everyone and welcome to our latest post-debate interview here at YMCA Queensland Youth Parliament. Today I'm joined by the chairpeople of the the Health and Disability Services Committee, who just got back from their debate on inclusive disability and sexual education. I'm here with Madi Kenna, who's the member for Thuringowa, and I'm here with Rhys Williams, the member for Burnett. How are you both doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, doing well.
How are you feeling after the rush of the debate? Obviously, like it's pretty big. So you've been working on this for ages, and then it sort of just comes to this one moment. So it can be sort of overwhelming. But how are we both feeling? What's our immediate reaction?
A lot of relief.
Yeah,
just like
that was exactly what I was going to say.
I was like, yeah, exactly. It's just getting like we've worked on it so hard, and then it's like it happened. We're done. It went through, and yeah, that was really exciting.
It's definitely a big burden off my shoulders, and like we weren't entirely sure how the other youth members were going to react, but I'm very proud of our committee today.
We all did very well today. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it was a fantastic debate. I was, listening on the entire time. It was really, really enjoyable, and clearly everyone's put in a lot of work. So you should be very, really proud of what's gone on. My first question, which I've been sort of asking everyone in these interviews, is what's it been like in your positions as chairing these subcommittees, or being the chair people for your subcommittees? So what's it been like preparing this bill, writing amendments? Has it been difficult to sort of come up with things to debate? I'll start with you, Madi. So what's it been like sort of preparing for this bill?
It definitely, I am very stoked about having a bill that would affect me, and being able to say that I have autism, and as someone on the spectrum, to be able to give other people that the things that maybe I didn't get so much. I think it was definitely hard. There were quite a few amendments that were very good, not gonna lie, but it was definitely a very collaborative piece, and I definitely think that it was very important to have the refuting be able to add things, especially with Rhys and I both being in the queer community, but then also having Jaden, the member for Redlands, who also has a disability, and being able to bring those different personal stories to the table, I think just made it like a next level of authentic. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from listening to this debate, is that clearly there's a lot of personal experiences put into this bill, and I think that makes it quite a really strong and really important proposal. So I think that was very clear across the entire board. So yeah, really wonderful stuff. How about you, Rhys? What was it like preparing amendments for this bill? Was it difficult, or?
Well, I have to give out to supporting. They, I think, because when we were first discussing like the topic as a whole, we'd already realized. I think everyone kind of realized there were some things that we're going to be divisive about, and it made our job a lot easier. That like supporting was like, here's like, it was basically just red pen circled the parts. It was like, this is the parts we're going to argue on. This is the sections, and I think a lot of the groundwork had been done for us, and so like we were able to be a bit more specific in our research and everything. And because both Jaden and Madi were on the supporting, the disability side of the bill was very tight. Like we couldn't really find any issues with that. I think more focus was on the sexual part. And that's also a little bit controversial in a lot of ways, and for some people. And yeah, it was really nice having that interplay. And yeah, but it didn't really ever feel like competing against each other. It's like even now, it's been just like, great job, awesome, amazing, and it's been very lovely to work with both refuting and supporting just as a committee together. It's been lovely.
That's really fantastic to hear. No, I've heard that from other committees as well, is that especially this year, it's been a really collaborative project. And yes, there's still some spicy debate. It's still fun. It's it's working together, which is really, really fantastic. My next question is about the youth aspects of this bill. So I think it's important to sort of investigate why this needed to be debated at Youth Parliament. And something that I've heard from other committees is that it's just a matter of young people have this experience, they have this fresh perspective that, maybe traditional parliament isn't able to appreciate all the time. So what made this bill special for young people? And why did you think it needed to be debated at Youth Parliament? I'll start with you this time, Rhys.
Well, young people, it's about education, and young people are primarily the person who received education. I think a lot of adults remember back to the time they did education. And now I'm getting on in years. But it's been a few years since I've been out of school, but the experience of friends who are still in school, their experiences in school are different to mine. And I think because it's a bill that dealt with the more sensitive parts of education and with more expanding that, it was very, very important to have that youth perspective. Hey, this is what we deal with. This is what we deal on a daily basis. This is what we want. This is what we need. And I don't think you'd get that authenticity in a parliament. Lovely people. I'm sure they're amazing, but they're just a bit older. And yeah, they've been out of school for a long time, and they wouldn't have dealt with that stuff in a long time. And I think that's why youth perspective was incredibly important for this situation.
Yeah, just the fact that this is a bill being written about education by people who are either in the education system right now or just emerged out of it. Yeah, that inherently has a lot of value, I think. Did you want to add anything to that, Madi? Why did you think that this was such an important topic to discuss here at Youth Parliament?
I mean, I definitely agree with Rhys that the education system is forever evolving, and many people have brought it up this year and last year when I was a youth member last year, and they really do think, we all seem to have a very similar opinion that we need to fix the education system, and there's a lot of flaws, and it's not changed with the rest of society. And I think a part of that as well, especially with sexual education, I was so excited to be able to talk about it. And I had said today that our whole committee has gotten very different sexual education, and it's just so scattered. And I remember last year it was brought to my attention by so many people in Youth Parliament who were saying that it's something that's drastically affected their life. And there will probably be things in our bill that won't be relevant to in a couple generations time, that it is forever changing. And I think that what is important is that we had said today, that looking at the root of the problem and trying to work back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're totally right that it's just so hard for the laws to catch up at times because, attitudes change, things change, and unfortunately things are quite outdated sometimes, and they're in need of sort of newer sort of reinterpretations. And I think that's what's fantastic about this bill, is that it's a proposal for what, could change with the experiences of young people from such diverse backgrounds and different ideas of this sexual education that they sort of got themselves. And it's true that, you know, it sort of ranges so widely across schools, which is, it's surprising and potentially, you know, quite bad. My next question is about the debate itself. So for those who might be listening to this later, I'm interested to hear from your perspective what you think was the main point of contention in this debate. And again, like we said, this was largely collaborative, but I'm interested to hear about what was sort of the sticking point in this debate, if you had to choose one. I'll start with you this time, Maddie. What do you think was the main sort of contentious point here?
For the most part, I think it was with the sexual education part, that whole part. And honestly, I think this could have been 3 separate bills, and there could have been a lot going on there. And in a way, I do think we bit off quite a lot, but we did get to chew it all. So I think it definitely took a toll in today's debate, and having, I think most of the committee was found that there was a lot different in the amendments for the sexual education part. I think one of the biggest things was making it mandatory, and something that I had, when I had first envisioned some of the amendments that would be debated on in Parliament, it was more so to show that for the most part, young people are on the same page about sexual education, and having having all genders in the same room and making it mandatory were things that I believe should be a part of it, but we had made sure to leave those parts in the original bill so that when it came to voting for the amendments, that the rest of the youth members would be able to show as a whole that we, for the most part, believe that it should be mandatory, and it should be a co-ed situation. But they were the main points of contention today.
Very, very interesting. Was that sort of your take as well, Rhys, about
Yeah.
like how they approach, you know, your subcommittee approached it?
Yeah, like I said, it was really just the nitty-gritty of sexual health. Like the groundwork had already been laid out for us, and we'd found there was just like segregated classrooms, mandatory sex education, or like just outlining the inclusive what the topics were that we were covering. I think those topics were just like working those kinks out and just figuring out what was what people wanted. And I agree with Maddie here that it was like, it was the fact that the bill passed in a landslide was just like very like, oh, that felt so good. I was like, that's just, yeah, I was very worried about like some of the topics that we'd written in there as like amendments. I was like, no, I don't know, people may not like this, but like it was very encouraging that and like lovely that like everyone was very like, yes, this is what we want, this is a great thing. And yeah, that was very lovely of them.
Absolutely, yeah. It was sort of a landslide, sort of like you said, pretty much universal acceptance, which is fantastic. Yeah, and you bring up some great points there that it seems like everyone on the committee was like of general agreements that this is something that generally should pass. It's sorting out the minutia, like the technical details of what should be included or not. So yeah, again, that's something that I've sort of learned, you know, doing these interviews and hearing from committee members, is that largely this is a process of just refining these bills. So it's not about like, it doesn't have to be sort of competitive. It's just about sort of creating the best bill possible. So I think that was sort of the case with your committee as well. My final question is about your experience with Parliament so far. So I know, Madi, this is your second year. so, you know, you're familiar with this process, but there's still, every year that we do this, I hope that people are learning something about Parliament and how this process works. I'm interested to hear from both of you. What has been something that you've learnt about the parliamentary process in the, you know, stages of writing this bill and then preparing it and then presenting it? I'll start with you, Madi. Have you taken anything away from this experience?
Oh, everything. That's such a complex question. But I think last year I was in refuting, which is very different to sponsoring, and having to write the basis for the bill that then refuting adds to was a very different experience, but I found it very positive nonetheless. And I think being online has definitely impacted it, but I think because of how COVID has brought so many people closer together, as much as we are all in very different places right now, it's been really cool to be able to collaborate with so many other young people, and especially having other young people who are passionate about the same things that I am passionate about. And I did feel very included, which is a big part of Youth Parliament. And yeah, it's just, I could talk about that for hours. But yes, I have definitely loved this year. It's been very different, but I've taken a lot away from it.
That's really, really wonderful to hear. Yeah, it's good to see that even though this is a very different format, it's still getting those sort of wholesome values from the program, which is really wonderful. How about you, Rhys? What has been a takeaway of the program this year?
Because I'd always wanted to do it through high school, but I just didn't get the courage or whatever, or self-esteem, everything. And so when it came into it, I was like, let's do it, let's have a go. And then everything with COVID and everything, I was like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be. But it has been a lovely experience meeting everyone now. Like, I wouldn't say I'm the most formal person with like presentation and everything, and like all that. And so I didn't know how I'd go through like a parliamentary, like this, then this, then this, then this, then this. Like, some of the parts felt to me very like, what is happening? But I was like, okay, so this is why this happens. This is why this happens. This is why this happens. I was like, that was a great eye opener, and like just a first experience. Even though I wasn't in the Parliament House, I was like, that's why people do certain things. And that was very lovely. But it was just great to work with Madi and Jaden and Eden and Angelina, and everyone else in the group, and just like have all these amazing people who were just like, let's do something, let's put something together. And they were just very encouraging. That like, yeah, for regional particularly, like, it's like you don't feel like you have a lot of people who are just like, yeah, let's do stuff. And it was really great to meet people all around the state that was like, yeah, let's do stuff, let's get this done. And that's something I really liked about this program. I was like, I'm not alone in this, like, wanting change. Like, there's beautiful people like Madi in front of me who want a better world for us all. And it was really happy, and it made me feel really nice that we got that done.
That's so fantastic. Oh, I love to hear it. Yeah, that was my experience with Youth Parliament as well. Like, it's knowing that, whoa, there's a lot of people out there who really do care about these issues, and we're going to work on something together, and, you know, it's going to be meaningful, and it's going to feel like a lot of work, and it's going to feel great to even just sit down in Parliament and do it. So that's really, really wonderful to hear. Yeah, that's all for today. I just wanted to thank both of you, obviously, for being part of this interview, and I wanted to congratulate both of you on your fantastic work and your committees as well. This is quite an accomplishment to get to this point. Even if it's not quite the same Youth Parliament, I hope that you've gained a lot from this experience. And yeah, it was a very, very fun debate to listen to, and it was, yeah, it's clearly very meaningful. So you should all be very proud of yourselves, and great work.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much.